listening to The Starting Zone, a podcast about World of Warcraft and the people who play it. And now, here are your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to The Starting Zone, the podcast about World of Warcraft and people who play it. Today is July 27th, 2025, and my name is Spencer Downey. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the podcast. I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host Jason Lucas. Jason, how are you doing on this fine Sunday?
Oh, Spencer, hello. I'm doing well. We're in a really weird state of WoW right now because, man, season 2 it's really over, I think, in most people's hearts, but it's still here and we're waiting for patch, and we still have, as we record this, another week plus until patch, and then another week after that until season. So we're in the space in between patches in a way, and I'm having some weird just emotional reactions to that. A couple weeks ago we talked about how, you know, when the patch date came down, I was like, oh man, this is kind of too early, this is inconvenient, and it's disruptive to the schedule in a lot of ways, and that remains true. But I was kind of like dreading it. I was like, man, I wish it was like another month out or at least a couple weeks. And now it is totally flipped around. I can't wait to play patch and to get into the new season, and I wish that it had been out already or was coming out this week or whatever. Now it's not early enough. So yeah. I guess just in the span of the last 3 weeks, I've been both sides of the WoW player who can never be happy and can never be pleased by the dev's decisions. It's all just me, just rotating around.
I do feel as though the entire atmosphere around the community changes when we're this close to a patch. And so there's a double-edged sword, as there always has been, of saying, hey, the new content's coming out in the next 4 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever that is, because you just see this dramatic change in what people are, how people approach the game. And a lot of people do okay, I'm going to take a break. If none of what I'm doing going forward here matters, and I don't care about or already have all the rewards that I've been looking for this season, then I'm just checking out for a couple of weeks. And then suddenly it's like, well, where did everyone go? This feels really weird. What like, you know, all the friends that I've been playing with are just not around right now. Like that's what that sort of feels like. But you also have the people who are like, okay, I understand that there's all these things, like there's raid obligation, whatever it is, but any time they have outside of that is spent, you know, doing the checklist of things they want to get done before season end. And so then they're not available to do things like Mythic Plus or whatever, because that's just farther down their list, unless, you know, they wanted to try and get a particular IO, you know, sort of for that season, like a certain rating for that season. They're not working on that. So then they're not available to do those things. So it's a very strange, as you said, sort of in-between spot that we hit with this. And I feel the entire atmosphere around the game that at least the community that I play within and am exposed to regularly shift pretty dramatically into like okay, downshift down, everyone relax, take it easy for a bit. Like that's where everyone sort of goes. And it's interesting to feel that vibe. And then at the same time you're going, yeah, like next week, you know, like, you know, the 5th is when we're going to have all new content to check out and a bunch of stuff to do in the game, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously the new season launching the week after that. So we're really close to all that new content hitting and having this huge resurgence and that entire atmosphere changing from like downshift down to, you know, essentially go into overdrive with try and experience as much content as possible, try and learn as many new encounters as possible, try and experience as many of the new dungeons and things as possible, collect all the stuff and all the things, and like all that energy comes back into the game really fast and hard the moment you hit that new content coming out. So yeah, it's that lull where, you know, just before the storm hits kind of idea.
Yeah, and you know, I think they've done a good job in the more sort of modern or like recent era of the game, filling that time or giving you like reasons to log in and do stuff if you want to. And I mean, I've been in a spot where I've wanted to play and just had this moment of like, well, I kind of did like everything I care about, even as much stuff as they put in. So that's sort of where I've been at for a lot of this week. You know, we did put a raid together on Tuesday. We had achievements to do still. So we did them on normal, and they were fine. They were mostly pretty straightforward. There wasn't anything that was really stood out as being obnoxious. The sticks achievement, you have to watch your timing pretty carefully, and stuff dies really fast at this point in the tier, especially in turbo boosted item level with all the extra power that we have. So you got to be careful in that one because there can't be any trash up when you kill the boss. So, the trash piles. So you have to make sure that you're collecting everything and burning everything, and then you actually kill the boss. And it's a pretty tight window before more trash piles spawn. But other than that, we didn't have too much trouble with the achievements, really. The mount reward is amazing. It's like the mech suit that Styx is riding around, basically. So it's a really cool looking mount, and we are doing another round next week for people who maybe missed a couple or weren't able to show up last week. So that's it. No more heroic or mythic rating or anything for this season. 2 weeks ago, well, as we're talking right now, last reset week was the last time we were going to do heroic. So that's kind of all done. Put like a keystone together after raid, and then somebody had to bounce and somebody else had to bounce, and I was like, hey guys, what if we just don't do any more keys this week or whatever? Like, I'm just kind of done. I might not do any this week because rolling into patch, it's like, I don't know. I even if I get something cool out of vault, there's so little that I actually need. So I just didn't get into a lot of, end game multiplayer stuff this week. I didn't do any delves or anything. There's just no point on any of my characters right now, and it just didn't seem like the way to use my time. So what I decided to do was take advantage of Winds of Mysterious Fortune, and I ended up finishing the Rogue. As we spoke last week, I just kind of started the Rogue. I took the Hunter from 70 to 80, the Priest and the Warlock from 70 to 80, so that's all 13 classes at 80. Rolling into patch, which I think this is like the earliest I've ever had all 13 classes leveled to 80. The Winds of Mysterious Fortune is just ridiculous. You just level up for free, and especially with Turbulent Time Ways going on, like 85% XP bonus is a lot, especially with Mentor. You have to have Mentor all the way up to get that, and then just the leveling structure in this expansion. So that meant all of the Warbound gear I've been collecting for the past 2 patches was now available to be distributed everywhere. And so I took all my season 2 stuff, I gave it to whatever tunes could make use of it, and then I DE'd the rest. And I think I cleared out like over a Warband bank tab of extra space going into this bank reorg.
Good job.
Patch. So like I was just hoarding stuff, and it's like, well, if I ever level that 3rd cloth tune, then at least I'll have something. And then I ended up doing it, right? But so now it's done. But I had like 584 stuff in there. Like, what am I doing? So I did all that, and then I was like, well, I'm in here. Let me get my void storage situated. So I condensed my void storage down to 1 tab. So that's a nice conversion for patch. I went through my mains bags and went, okay, like all these trinkets I'm holding on to, like I don't need this stuff anymore. These consumables that come out of the Undermine season delves, like I'm not going to need the pocket pizza and all. Like I wasn't using them, but I wouldn't get rid of them because they just stack up as you're doing content.
Right.
It's not going to happen anymore. So that can all be vendored. I had just some weird stuff. Like I had an item that you needed to combine with a drop from a rare in Zeralik Cavern that I had never gotten, and if you combine those 2 items, you get a unique pet. And I was like, well, let me just fly down here. It so happened that the zone that rare spawns in was up that day because Zeralik Cavern is on a rotation where there's like one region in the zone where rares don't spawn. It was up. I had to wait like maybe, I don't know, an hour, a half hour for the spawn, but I killed it. I got the drop. I got the pet. The pet's cool because it like talks to you. It's like, I don't know, some evil spirit that's like trapped in a snake body or something. So, hey, that was neat, whatever. And it cleared up a bag spot that I've been holding on to indefinitely just for that, even though I didn't know why. I knew the item did something, but I didn't know what.
Yeah.
I was just doing stuff like that. I really condensed my mains inventory down and everything because I knew like, okay, I didn't want it to be as much of a project as it possibly could be on patch day when everything moves over. So that was done. And as this has been going on, I was doing Collector's Bounty. We are coming up on the end of Collector's Bounty in a couple days. I just had a couple things on my list. I noted Ashes last week. I wanted to get Invincible. So I was doing ICC runs. Like basically I would take 1 character a day and I would do TK, ICC, and Legion Kara because I also wanted Midnight from Legion Kara. So I wasn't going over the top, but I would do 1 run a day, pick a tune, go run through it. I did end up getting Invincible, which was awesome.
Hey.
Like after all these years. And I mean, I did ICC a lot for Mogs and to get Shadowmourne well after the fact. Like you had to go grind that out. And then I just kept doing Kara. I ended up getting the Legion Kara Midnight to drop. So I was like, well, there's the 3 things I really wanted. And then I said, you know what else can I do? How else can I take advantage of Collector's Bounty? And then I've been doing so much Tempest Keep and stuff. I was like pretty close to being done with tier 5 mogs from Burning Crusade, which I think tier 5 is really maybe one of the best tiers ever, like right
Agreed.
behind tier 2 maybe. Like, it's just incredible. So I said, you know what, let me finish Death Mantle. I don't have that many cool rogue cosplays. Death Mantle is one of the coolest sets ever made, so let me do that. And then I did that, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff, because you're picking up tokens now, right? And you can put the token in the war bank, and then another character can log in and learn the token. And I'm like, I'm getting kind of close to having everything done. So I said, you know what? Let's just take as many characters as I can. We'll go through SSC, make sure they know fishing, so I can fish up Lurker below. Go through TK, kill all the trash for the zone drops, and actually the priest belt is from Gruul's. I don't know how that happened, but so I'm like flying out to Blade's Edge and doing Gruul's, and then the hunter belt is the only appearance that matches the set is from Professions. So I had to drop some coin on that. Somebody knew what they were doing and had it up there, but by like midweek, I had finished tier 5 Mog for all 9 Burning Crusade classes, which is kind of a neat little thing. And then I was like, I am really out of stuff to do in War Within right now. So I started playing a little bit of Mists of Pandaria, boosted a warrior up to 85 so I could just jump in. And, I'm up to level 86. I'm most of the way through Jade Forest. I got to say, there's a lot of stuff about Mists that I forgot. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it has been, 13 years now since it came out. I forgot that it was an era of, okay, you have active mitigation. You have to like actively push your buttons. Like, you have a short buff window for shield block, so you have to build up a lot of rage and then use it judiciously. But you also had tank specs. Like, your priority specs are hit, expertise, dodge, parry, mastery. All of these things are priority stats over strength. Stamina is priority over strength, right? It's like old school tanking, but with more modern style combat. It's kind of the best of both worlds in some ways. And I felt like, man, this is kind of the direction I would like to see retail move more in. But I will say the leveling is absurd because the numbers are so inflated and it takes forever to do anything. This was the era of, we don't know how to give you something every time you level up. So what we're going to do is we're only going to make you level up 5 times in an expansion. But it's going to take 15 million XP to level up, and we're going to give you 10,000 experience every time you kill a mob, and a quest is going to be worth 122,000 XP, but you're going to have to do an entire zone to get most of a level. So I don't know what I'm doing with Miss. Like, this is not going to become a show about me talking about Miss Classic, but like, it is a great expansion. I've been having fun dinking around in there, but I have no goals of like, I got to get to 90 so I can get into, Mokushan vaults, and I got to get ready for Heart of Fear. Like, I'll level up, I'll mess around a little bit and just kind of soak it in. But it's just like, I want to play WoW, but I'm like, I don't know what to do in War Within. There's nothing that I care about right now. I just want patch. I've even been thinking about like, maybe I should start playing the little classic Anniversary. Just sit around and chill and watch swing timers and grind away, just for some WoW to play.
I remember it really clearly for Mists of Pandaria when leveling up, the realization of how long it was going to take to hit a level. Like working my way through Jade Forest and being, I don't know, after you do the whole ship RP that happens there, blowing up the ship and whatnot, and you move to like the first village and you're getting there and you start to realize like, okay, at that point, like we were like drinking speed pots to move around faster and all sorts of stuff to try and make leveling faster. There's that realization of like, oh, I'm like 2 bars into this level. This is going to be okay. All right. You sort of realization.
That was the 20 bar days too. Now the bar is only 10 bubbles, but there was 20 bubbles back then. Yeah. It was just, it's one of those realizations you have and you're just like, okay, well, this is what we're in for. All right, let's not, burn ourselves out trying to hit those 5 levels in 24 hours, whatever it is. Let's take this over 3 days. That's what it's going to be. And I basically did like a little bit more than a zone a day, and then that was my leveling experience for Miss. It was definitely more of a hey, you need to be grounded on the ground, seeing the zones. Not a lot of flying, so that's not something you were doing. So yeah, like it was an experience for sure. All right, my week
I guess the Sunday night was raid. We one night cleared, which felt really good. We actually did it a little bit faster. There was the potential for this to be like an hour and a half clear. It was like we just one shot, like all it just felt really good. And then you just hit that weird rhythm where like, oh, well, we just wiped 8 times on this and 3 times on that. And you're like, okay, well now suddenly it's an extra hour of raid that we were not, we could have avoided. So we're close to having that really nice, quick, clean clear. And that's what I'm hoping for, is we start hitting those before, like over this week and next week would be nice to hit those. So I'm hoping that happens, but we'll see whether or not we get there. It's only 2 weeks left. So then we'll be moving into new content, and that'll be a lot of fun to sort of start checking out all the new stuff that's happening there. Outside of that, I was just sort of wrapping stuff up for the month, because obviously we're coming to a close here. So if you're doing Trader's Tender or anything like that, I mean, we're entering into we've actually entered already into hey, this is the burst week where you need to, get that last week boost to try and finish some stuff off. So be sure you're getting all the tender if you haven't yet. Since I haven't been running dungeons for most of this month, it's just meant that I haven't passively been earning as much tender as I normally would. So I'm like, I don't know, a small bit away. There was the extra bar this month too, so I wanted to be sure I was finishing that off as far as my playtime went. And still cracking open my vault to see if I can find a Jaster's Diamond. If I don't, then obviously I'll buy it. But that's the other heads up for everyone, is remembering that you have this week that we're entering into to spend your tokens that you've earned towards buying items off the vendor for I want to say bullion, but it's not bullion. It's the
puzzling cartel
chips. That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the puzzling. So this is your week to spend your puzzling cartel chips, and you have to be sure you spend them. Otherwise, they're going to become invalid. So I will, if I crack open my vault on Tuesday and don't see a Jaster's in there, then I am going to go and purchase one, and then purchase one of the dungeon trinkets that I've been wanting, and then that'll be that, and they're all spent, and then that's inevitably means that I'll get a Jaster's Diamond next week when we do raid, and that's how that's going to work. But anyways, so yeah, I did that, and I haven't been doing a whole lot else inside WoW. Like, it's just been a nice little downtime for me. So we did raid prep on Monday, as we've been doing every week. There'll be more raid prep next week. I think next week's one is the last non-mandatory, and the one after that's mandatory. So just people getting ready and making sure they have a good handle on what these bosses are going to be like and have the prep done. So yeah, but outside of that, let's move into what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. All right, this week is the War Within dungeon event going on for the Sign of the Warrior buff is up, where the final boss of each War Within dungeon drops an extra item, except for on Mythic Plus difficulty, and there's a quest to complete 4 either Heroic or Mythic dungeons, and that'll get you a Heroic Liberation of Undermined Cache. It is also Pet Battle bonus event going on, where Pet Battle experience is increased by 100%, and there's a quest to win 5 PvP pet battles, which gets you a level 25 pet training stone. The ultimate pet training stone just levels 1 pet up to 25. And it's the last week of Turbulent Timeways. That's the other thing I did last week, is I made sure on Sunday that I got my last time walking in to be able to get my mount. So if you're someone who is still 1 away, if you've done 4 weeks of Turbulent Timeways and you need 1 more week, this is your last week. We're coming into Battle for Azeroth. It's the full repeat. So if you did not experience the Atal Dazar, Freehold, King's Rest, Shrine of the Storms, Temple Sothralis, or Waycrest Manor time walking stuff that happened, this is your last chance to get in there and check it out before it's gone for like 7 months or something ridiculous on this entire time walking rotation. And Turbulent Timeways will probably come back. It did last expansion. There was a Turbulent Timeways 2 where it came back, and that happened during the last season. We may see that. I mean, we're also fairly certain that we're entering into like the last season of this expansion based off of Gamescom news being announced and everything else. That means that we may not see another Turbulent Timeways. So, I hope you're able to get in there and get your mount. I don't know. They might throw one in right at the end. Who knows? But that may have been it. Who knows? But it means that, yeah, level 10 characters or above can access those time-walking dungeons I mentioned. BFA reputations and gains from combat and quests are increased by 50%. So if there's stuff from BFA you never picked up from Paragon bags, things like that. Or maybe there's a reputation you never capped out. You wanted to buy some rewards from that. It's a good week to focus on that as well. And these Time Walking Dungeons are dropping 610 eye level gear with a vendor selling 587s. And you complete 5 of them, meet yourself with that heroic cache as well. So there's two chances at heroic caches this week. If you choose to do War Within dungeons, you do 4 of those on heroic or mythic. And if you choose to do your 5 time walking, you will get yourself 2 heroic Liberation of Undermine pieces for the week, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, if you're trying to main swap or something, if you're trying to move to a new main for season 3 that's kind of undergeared, this is kind of your last gasp of easily accessible stuff. It's the easiest that dungeons are going to be for a while. It's the best time walking reward you're going to get for a while. We still got another week of overcharged delves technically going on, so that's like the champ cache for just doing something. Yeah, I'm not in that spot myself. I can't imagine what they'd have to do to Warrior to get me to main swap, but I've been with it through thick and thin. But if you are, if you're in the market for I want to play this different tune, I mean, hey, even if you're not leveled up yet, you get leveled up in a few hours this week between the the overlapping buffs, and then you can you can gear up with not to ideal gear obviously, but enough to hit the ground running and get into Ghost of Koresh with something. So you can take advantage of all that stuff this week, which is cool. And if you don't need to do that, then you might not have any of this stuff on your list like me, because I already did all my my turbulent time ways, and I got all my stuff in order. So you can either dive all the way into this, take advantage of it, or just go, you know what, this doesn't matter to me anymore.
Yeah. As far as your weekly quests go, obviously there's still the Undermine weeklies you can hop in and do for many jobs: handle it, urge to surge, reduce, reuse, resell. If you're trying to cap out any of those reputations down there first, before you select, be sure you select the reputation you want to support first towards those Undermine reputations. Call the World Soul is not this week. It was last week. So this coming week is Delves Weekly with Bran. So you'll have Bran out there making sure you're heading into your Delves, which again ties into, hey, if you haven't finished your overcharged Delve stuff yet, you want to get that mount by unlocking the whole system. You pick up this quest too, you'll get some extra rewards along the way. You get your spark fragments and all that kind of stuff done. I don't know I imagine the sparks are just going to do the same thing as the last ones, which means they just become an item you don't necessarily use because there's better sparks out there. So you're just going to have a bunch of those lying around. You do get Valor Stones, and Valor Stones are carrying over. So if you're someone who's just trying to, accumulate Valor Stones, that's a good way to do that as well, is just picking that up along the way. And then there's so many resonance crystal rewards in the game. It's always nice to get some extra resonance crystals to spend on some of those cosmetics and things you might want to buy, or catch up gear for an ult and that sort of thing.
And they added, so I'm actually kind of tapped out on resonance crystals because of the goblin cartels, because there's 4 times as many as there would be for a regular rep faction. I do think this is a mistake in the notes, and that's my bad. I this week that we're in currently is Delves Weekly from Bran.
We're moving to
so choose
Titan.
one's coming up. One thing I want to point out, which has occurred to me, it might be worth saving these until patch. So Titan Disc Fragments is going to rotate out. So if you don't have that done, you want to get that done this week. But if you're banking them up, you might want to just save your Delves Weekly, save your Choose One, and then when patch week rolls around, pick up your Titan Disc Fragments, and then do all 3 of them. You'll probably still only get 1 Spark Fragment, if they're even doing Spark Fragment the first week of patch.
Yeah.
But it's a whole stack of stuff for new patch, new season. And if there is anything cool, or they bump up any of the rewards, then you might benefit from turning them in afterwards. The quest IDs might be tied to the previous season or something. It may not matter, but it almost certainly doesn't matter at the end of 11-1 cycle season 2, right? It might kind of be a nice advantage to have at the beginning of 11-2. So that's the way I'm doing it. If I don't get any kind of big bonus, I'm not going to be mad, but I'm not going to turn in the Delves Weekly or the Choose One from this week coming up until after patch.
Yeah, it's a good tip. You never know how those mechanics are going to roll over season to season. So I certainly would join you on that and make sure that we're not turning stuff in too early, because there's a chance that you can get new currencies or even different rewards from that kind of thing, depending on what the game does when it rolls over into a new patch. Okay, there's also the Godfather still up. If you're someone who's trying to get yourself some Warbound loot for some of those characters, 642 item level loot drops off Godfather. Be sure you're picking that up. We got Deepwind Dunk this week, where this is Deepwind Gorge, but your goal is to dunk the ball at the opposing person's nets in the northern and southern mines. And it's great. It's a lot more fun than normal Deepwind Dunk, normal Deepwind Gorge. Sorry, I will say that pushing the carts around and dragging the carts around that map is neat, but not necessarily as much fun as basically playing basketball on Deepwind. So definitely check it out. Good brawl.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better ones. Even though sometimes we kind of lament like, oh, this is just a familiar BG with like slightly tweaked rules, and that's not really that much fun. But when the rule tweak is as good as this is, then I think it qualifies as a good brawl, right? So, yeah, it's cool. If you've never done it, check it out. It's definitely a different twist, and yeah, I like it better than regular Deepwind Gorge for sure.
Yeah. All right. As far as our Mythic Plus affixes for the week go, it is an Ascendant week, which means that 10 orbs will appear every minute while in combat that must be interrupted, purged, crowd controlled, or knocked back. These orbs that appear will, if they are broken properly and in time, will give you a movement speed and haste buff that you get that stacks up. So you want to be sure that when you see these things popping, you're dropping your Ring of Peace on the area that they're popping in, or you're saving up your Typhoon till they've all spawned, because they kind of spawn in staggered. And once you've disrupted all of those, and I mean, this is like, you can use AoE stuns if you have like, you're spinning your kick. You can do as a monk. Monks have all the fun tools for these sorts of stuff. Then absolutely use those things. You can even throw interrupts on these things. So if you're someone who has an AoE silence, if you're playing, a class that has that, or an AoE stun, just drop them on those. I'm pretty sure like Disrupting Roar does it. I'm pretty sure like anything that does any kind of AoE fear would affect these two. So definitely take advantage of that this week and enjoy your Mythic Plus affix that we have in one of the last rounds of this dungeon rotation. We'll be moving into new dungeons with these affixes very soon.
Yeah, true. We kind of ran down everything on last week's episode about what's going away and when, at least as far as what's been published by Blizzard. So this is a pretty good week. I mean, Fortified is at lower rank is kind of gentle. Ascendant is annoying, but it's not that hard to deal with. And like you said, everybody's got probably multiple tools to deal with it. Do you really want to be using your interrupts and stuff on the orbs? Like, probably not, but you also don't want all 10 orbs casting. So this is another affix we talked about last week with Pulsar, where it's not all or nothing. Like, you want to get them all, but if you got to let one or two of them go, you still get a benefit from the buffs, which is good. I think that's just better design than, we've kind of seen some of the all or nothing designs before. They've toned that down and gotten rid of them. But yeah, it's fine. Like if you have a monk, like Ring of Peace is just the complete cheat code for this, but everybody can help out. You probably are in a build that has a lot of crowd control and whatnot anyway for a dungeon. So, fire away. Yeah. Fears do work. Like for whatever reason, Prot Warrior can yell at the orbs and make them scared and then they go away.
Exactly.
So there you go. Yeah. Just make sure you're helping out. It's much like when it comes to Devour, where it's not like really how you want to use your Dispel. It's not really how you want to use these tools. And that's why, just as a player, I don't like this week, even though it's not really hard to deal with. Because I'll sit on my stuns. I'll sit on Shockwave because it's like, well, I really shouldn't use it until the Ascended Orbs come out. And that stinks. I want to use it to stun up the mobs that are doing the stuff that I don't want them casting at me. But this is the way it works in Affix land. So, just make sure you got plenty of tools and use them. Communicate with your group about who's using them. If you're in voice or whatever, like, I got these or whatever. So you don't just waste them, because you want to have them available to use on like stuns and stuff are super valuable on mobs. So use them on mobs if you can. Yeah.
Winds of Mysterious Fortune, as Jason mentioned, is continuing. It is still going. It's actually going to go until Season 3 launch. So you're going to have until August 12th to be able to do fast leveling, basically, and take advantage of Winds of Mysterious Fortune. So got a couple weeks left of that. Just keep that in mind. We do have Trial of Style kicking off on this Friday. It's going to be the 1st of August and run until the following week on the 8th of August. So you'll have that full week to be able to enjoy some Trial of Style if you're trying to figure out what to do during the lull of that, August 5th launch, or as the last couple days lead up to that August 5th launch. You can get in there, that queue for the 6-player scenario, put together some really fun mogs. All transmogging in the game will become free for that one window of time, that week of time. So if you want to play around and set up a whole bunch of mogs for your characters, you can do that without having to worry about incurring some gold cost on it. So just keep in mind that Trial of Style's back, and it's going to be some fun time for people. We don't know if there's any new rewards coming in with this one. I doubt there will be. But if you haven't, caught up on all the old ones, it's certainly a good time to do that. It might be a little weird because this overlaps with the 5th, means we're going to have the bank readjustment happen in the middle of Trial of Style. And you don't want to lose a pair of socks or something when all this rolls over and not have your right transmog. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, true. Well, Trial of Style is really fun, but I haven't done it in a long time, to be honest. It really shines when you can do it in a group with 5 of your friends, and everybody is actually kind of interacting with each other and really participating and kind of, I don't know, trying to make each other laugh or whatever. But it's always a cool event. The vendor is available all the time, but you can only get the currency during the event. So you don't have to, I have a bunch banked up, but probably not enough to buy all of the stuff that they've added over the years. They did add a ton of stuff in recent times, but what they used to do was recolors of, old sets, and they would do like a unique Trial of Style twist on it. So it would be something different for your collection. In recent years, they've done stuff like, adding a lot of, like boots or whatever, just like individual pieces here and there, which, obviously it's just not as exciting, which also kind of has de-incentivized me to do this. Like, if there was stuff I really wanted and none of my friends wanted to do it, I would queue in and just do it, and whatever would happen in there would be fine. And then I would get the currency to buy the stuff I wanted. But stuff they've added is sort of more like, oh, we need to like fill in this gap because there's not a good mog for this kind of thing, which is cool, but it's a whole different thing than a recolored set from an old dungeon or whatever. So I would say check it out if you've never done it. Regardless, like if you've never done Trial of Style, you should do it because it is really fun and it's super different. I think a lot of the stuff from the 20th anniversary event sort of took inspiration from Trial of Style. It felt like it was in that mold. So yeah, it's cool. It only comes around twice a year, right? It's like around March and around August, September. That's when it usually runs. So this won't be back around until late winter, early springtime, probably.
Yeah.
So if you want to do it, you want to get some currency for the vendor, this is your week coming up starting on Friday.
Yeah, and it's not a terrible time for it, like I said. I mean, if you're someone who's hyped with the new content, there might not be much you're doing in those last 2 days other than maybe organizing your bank before it comes out. And if you're someone who isn't really all that excited for the new content, you got plenty of time once this new content comes out. Just with those first 3 days, you could spend just doing this and then spend the rest of the week doing the new content if you wanted to. So just keep in mind, it's a good time for Trial of Style. It kind of landed in a good window. All right, Dark Moon Fair is also happening. It's going to kick off on August 3rd, and it's going to run until the 9th. So if you're someone who is wanting to get yourself that extra bonus experience gain, obviously that does overlap with Wynn's Mysterious Fortune, that extra reputation gain. If there's profession stuff you're wanting to finish off for, getting those last few knowledge points in there, you can work on that through Dark Moon Fair. There's obviously the pet battle stuff that can happen there for bonus pet battle tokens. If you're looking for that, you can get the extra prize tokens for the dirigible mount. There's the Dance achievements you can do in there for the Dance competition that happens. There's all the racing achievements that are in there and all the racing stuff to do. There's special pets and stuff that drop in the area. There's just fun games to play. I enjoy going down in there and playing Minesweeper and stuff every now and then because they have some really fun versions of those games that are very WoW-based. So if you're interested in any of that, head on down over to the Dark Moon Fair between August 3rd and 9th and enjoy yourself during that week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it used to be up until a few weeks, well, maybe like a month or two ago, it was like, oh, Dark Moon Fair, got to go get my knowledge points, but I'm out of knowledge point jail. So, I don't think there's anything down there at this point that I care about for the duration of the expansion. But, I did a lot. I got in there and I got all the Dance achievements and all that. I think that was the newest thing they put in, which was a couple years ago now. So, but yeah, there's a lot to do. And, hey, you can get some. Why not use the extra XP and rep with the other buff that's going on? I mean, it all adds up. It seems like a small number compared to everything else, but I mean, geez, if you do that with time ways, you got a 2 day overlap there where you can get like 95% XP in addition to how streamlined the leveling already is. Another 10% on top of that. I mean, if that's really what you're trying to do, then it's a tight window, but it's a great opportunity at the end of this reset week coming up. So
yeah,
I myself will probably not be visiting the fair this rotation.
Yeah. All right. The two posts that we want to talk about today on the show, both are very much tied together. One is dungeon testing, which is coming up between July 22nd and the 29th. So we're mid-testing. You got a couple days left of testing for people who are testing Ecodome, Downey, Tazavesh Field Market, Tazavesh Streets of Wonder, Tazavesh Soleil's Gambit, and Halls of Atonement. Those are all currently up for testing, and people are hopping in there to do it. But they did a bunch of balance tuning for that. And so in the dungeon area of these posts to talk about, they've done like enemy forces increased by 10% inside Streets of Wonder, but then they're also reducing the damage of a bunch of things and increasing ability cooldowns of a bunch of things and reducing shields on a bunch of things, so that they're in a situation where it's a really clear tuning pass, and then that ties a little bit into what we're seeing with class tuning. So I want to link those together a bit. The thing I want to highlight, though, of all of these changes to dungeons that they've listed, that is incredibly critical and important, is they have removed the cast time on Invigorating Fish Stick inside of Soleil's Gambit. It is now an instant cast, which means you will not have a window of time where you can stun them to disrupt dropping that fish stick. It is coming down. They did reduce its health by 10%, and the actual Invigorate itself now has a cast time of 5 seconds, which is increased from 3, so there's a more opportunity for you to interrupt the totem itself once it's put down, but you cannot stop them from putting it down. So that is certainly something to keep in mind in there. Outside of that,
it used to be like, don't ever let it come down, right?
Yeah.
And that's not possible now. Now it's target swap and kill the totem and don't let the cast go off. So,
exactly.
Which is okay. I mean, it'll have the same effect. If you're playing well, if you're using your abilities, if you're communicating, then you can avoid Invigorating Fish Stick from actively harming you, but you got to pay a lot of attention to it. It used to just be, okay, somebody watch the scale binder, make sure that the fish stick doesn't come down, kill the pack.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be like, okay, watch for when it comes down, and then everybody make sure that we're dealing with it. So just a little bit. I mean, for a lot of people, this will be a new experience for them anyway. I don't know how much muscle memory I still have from Gambit from a few years ago. We're going to find out in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that's a little bit of I guess they wanted to preserve like having to actually deal with the totem itself versus, just being able to ignore the ability existing at all just by using stuns or whatever.
Yeah, to rotate through it. So, I mean, that one I wanted to highlight. Outside of that, most of these are just like, as I said, ability, cooldown increase, damage reduced, shield stuff reduced across the board in a lot of these dungeons, which I feel ties into what we got class balance-wise. So class balance posts that we got here, they were really looking at these 4-set bonuses and 2-set bonuses and trying to fix them. And Jason, I'll let you start off with what happened with shamans, which have been a mess through this whole PTR testing period. And it sounds like they finally got them into a place where, hey, you should hop in there and test quickly and get feedback out there because you can do it now. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I had been hearing anecdotal reports for a long time, basically the entire length of this PTR, that the shaman bonuses weren't working right. So, specifically it was the bonuses for totemic enhancement. So the fixes that are live on PTR now, they fixed an issue that caused the 4-set to put Lava Lash on cooldown from the initial Echo cast. It caused the 2-set to cast Primordial Storm at 100% effectiveness instead of 200% effectiveness. And there was also a bug that caused the Primordial Storm cast by the 2-set to benefit from Maelstrom Weapon. So none of that was intentional. The tuning was all wrong. And there was also a baseline enhancement bug that was causing Thorum's Invocation to cast with 10 Maelstrom Weapon instead of 5 Maelstrom Weapon. So the reason why I point this out, I'm not a shaman player, and we don't really get too in the weeds with PTR tuning on the show generally, because I think just fundamentally, it can be really confusing radio. It's not really that fun to talk about, and we don't play every single spec, and also the stuff is so in flux. But the reason why we're highlighting it this week is because this PTR is almost ready to be wound down. And there have been some also, we're at the stage of the expansion where these 4 pieces are supposed to be extremely powerful, right? It's the last set we're getting. It's tied into your hero talents, so it can really bring out the power inherent in those talent choices. It's really trying to amplify those. And, traditionally the last set that we get is the most powerful, and it pushes the power higher than it was at any relative point in the expansion. Generally, obviously there are outliers, and sometimes there's stuff that wasn't really tuned as time went on, but that's kind of the design idea. And so now you've had PTR has been out for what, 2 months, give or take. I mean, give or take a week here or there, and there's specs that are not really testable for any length of time, like during raid testing and everything, which I don't think they're doing any more raid testing at this point. And it's like there's no clear picture of what the stuff looks like because of these bugs and stuff being overtuned or undertuned, or stuff not working the way it's supposed to, being busted in one direction or the other. It's weird because it seems like overall PTR was pretty decent in terms of being able to get the content tested, but the classes, some of these elements seem like they're really all over the place. And there was also a big list of like kind of last minute just balance changes that came down at the end of this week as well, which it happens, it's expected, but it's hard for players to understand what they're dealing with when fundamental things about the way the class or the spec is going to play in the patch are not testable until the very end of PTR. It's something I think they really should avoid in the future. Just make sure that they're not, that they need to prioritize these things. I mean, like it or not, I don't love it, but a thing about WoW that I don't think you can dispute is it's played from a perspective, like PTR is an essential part of the way that people approach the game, because the highest level players spend time testing and theory crafting PTR. And whether you're playing in a CE guild or whether you're an LFR hero, like what the information that you receive about how to play your character comes from this stuff. So I think like not being able to test, I think Shaman is probably the biggest, most glaring example of this, but this is a trend that I just don't want to see continue. I think they need to make sure that they're having PTR in a playable state from the perspective of class abilities, class items like set bonuses. That stuff needs to work, and people need to have a clear picture of how that's going to feel and where the numbers are going to land so that they can make informed decisions about what they're going to play or how they're going to play it. So it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, I guess, hey, it's better than not having the bugs fixed on PTR at all, but It's kind of too late now for people to get a picture of what they're dealing with. So I just wanted to highlight that. It's something we haven't really talked about on the show leading up to it, because really, what would you even say, I guess, except it's bugged right now, so stand by until something changes on PTR. But when it takes until the last week and a few days of PTR for the bug to get fixed, it's almost the same difference of not having fixed it at all, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And I definitely hear what you're saying, and not giving people the opportunity to test, or people, I guess it's not giving, but people not having the opportunity to test these changes that are coming up in a couple of weeks means that they're going to be in a lot of cases, they're going to be in a state where people are just very unsure as to what they should be doing. And from a mythic raiding scene, it's tricky because you're like, well, for the people who have multiple mains and on those raid teams, you're talking about like the top, 3%ers, they're going to have a shaman just sitting there being like, well, maybe this will be good. We don't know. But majority of cases where people are playing one character, if it's looking like this is going to be broken or not going to work out well, or they just is so unsure, they're going to commit down a different road as far as character goes. And that can be unfortunate when, last minute, maybe Shaman comes in strong, who knows? And people are put in a position to pivot. So we'll see what happens with that. Along the same lines, though, as all these dungeons getting these nerfs that I was talking about, we also saw a lot of specs getting buffs, and not like small buffs. Like if I was just to highlight the druid stuff that was coming in, it is pretty surprising what we're seeing as far as these increases go. Feral Druid getting an 8% across the board damage increase. Guardian getting a 12% across the board ability damage increase. Boomkin's getting an across the board all damage increase by 8%. Like Druid alone just getting huge increases to damage in this, while at the same time they're going, yeah, we're going to scale back a lot of this, less shield on this ad, and they're not going to do damage as often, and a little bit less health, and like that kind of stuff happening, and their abilities won't cast as often. That kind of stuff happening at the same time tells me that the testing is working for the classes that actually are in there, and it's showing that, hey, FYI, people are undertuned and stuff is overtuned, and so they want to have a better release week for a lot of this content when it happens. And so we're seeing these large buffs to some of these class. In Druid's case, it's literally the class getting buffs for all of its damage abilities, versus some of the other ones that we're seeing out there for smaller stuff. I know Augmentation got 5% increased damage across the board. I still don't know where that fits in, but they're still buffing it. This is like the 12th buff in a row to try and make it relevant.
They just have to put it in there so they can say we're trying. It's like a psychological thing more than, because Augmentation's if Augmentation is valuable to bring because of the damage it does, then why is it the spec that it is? And you know what? Actually, what you were just talking about with sort of not being able to assess properly, they really did the same thing kind of rolling into season 2, because that's where Augmentation took the big hit. It came in super late in the process and kind of stranded people, because I play with a guy who thought he was going to be playing Augmentation in season 2. Yeah, you were in that boat as well, and it's like, well, actually, you're not going to do this. So are you going to stick with the Evoker and play a different spec? Or are you going to switch characters? These kind of like last minute changes, fixes, adjustments on PTR to class stuff, kind of brutal, to be honest. So hopefully that is a trend that stops after this one.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, along with them buffing Augmentation by 5%, they're also increasing Devastation damage by 3%, Pyre damage for Devastation by 20%, and Firestorm damage by 20%. So huge buffs to their AoE abilities, and we already knew Devastation was rocking and rolling when it came to AoE abilities. So it's an interesting thing of like, I'd love to see the metrics of where do these classes stand for the internal numbers for Blizzard with these sorts of AoE numbers, right? Like what is Devastation compared to Boomkin, compared to one of the Hunter specs, compared to one of the Rogue specs, compared to Warriors in a 5 target AoE situation? Like where are those numbers at? Because I feel like there's going to be a few that are like 20 to 30% out in front of the other ones. And we'll have to see, how that works as far as this balance goes. But nice to know they're looking at the tier sets and trying to make sure that they at least feel impactful and are not bugged and, don't work. I still am someone who occasionally, out of paranoia, will take off tier set pieces and then put them back on again, just because for a long time that was a way to fix problems with tier sets. When they weren't working properly, you just take them off, put them back on, and then suddenly like, oh, hey, set bonus now actually works again. And it was really noticeable, I think it was in BFA actually, where the ability just wasn't proccing. Like you just literally were not getting the proc you were supposed to be getting, and you're like, well, why is this not happening? And you're like, well, it's not happening because your tier set bonus just isn't registering that it's working. So yeah, it was an ugly thing, but those sorts of things happen, and it's why you need this testing. It's why it's so important to do. So hopefully over the next 2 weeks, because that's really the window they have. They have this coming week, and then they have the first week from August 5th to 12th. Once Season 3 launches, they have to lock that in for a period of time unless there's really big outliers. So we'll have to see what happens there, because it used to be that they'd have that first Heroic week, and the moment Heroic week ended, they go, okay, here's the big tuning before Mythic launches. Now that it all launches at the same time, they don't have that window anymore to sort of play around and see what people are doing in the raid. So I'm going to be curious as to how this all plays out as far as balance tuning goes.
Yeah, it really, like, I know there were a chorus of people that wanted the Heroic week gone. Some people liked having it. Some people really did not like having it. It really does compress that kind of window where the tuning matters. I mean, WoW is tuned generally pretty well compared to how it was in the olden days, and some people might scoff at that, but it's really true. Like when you look at the outliers in the older game, and when they didn't have kind of the aura tuning where it was like, all right, we got to go through and adjust each ability by hand or whatever, it is generally better most of the time, but this is a lot of pressure. Like the tuning matters a lot more on the mythic end than in the lower difficulties because just of the nature of the content, right? If you don't have the correct mix of throughput for your mythic team, that's going to affect your success much more drastically than the normal or heroic team. And so I don't know. I'm not trying to say that the sky is falling or something. I expected a lot more warrior changes than we got for Prot, and they sort of said, "Hey, we're taking away like one of your big powerful tools, and we're giving you two not as good ones to pick from, and we're moving some stuff around, and we think you'll be fine. See ya." I expected it to be sort of an ongoing give and take throughout the process, and it just really hasn't been. So maybe I should be more scared than I am, but I feel like it's going to land okay. It's just, we see it every time, and I feel like it's going to be more and more. Now we have so many layers with 13 classes, with all the specs, and then the hero talents, and then these set bonuses being, targeted to be very powerful. It's just going to be a laundry list of hotfixes and stuff that needs to get adjusted and moving outliers up or down. I should also point out, we don't have this in blue text yet, but it looks like they did adjust the Reshi Wraps effects and buffed them significantly. So that's going to be another factor that is going to draw a lot of power from.
Yeah.
And which also may affect tank balance because the tank effect still is not great, and it may result in where we see these sort of high scaling threat generation problems because DPS is going to be doing way more really bursty DPS than they've been doing as they power up their Reshi Wraps, and tanks aren't going to be doing any extra damage off their Reshi Wraps, so we may need to see another threat buff. I mean, these are all things that are kind of inevitable, I guess. I guess for me, it's like I just want cool designs, and they can figure the numbers out later. But for some players, having the numbers all over the place could result in a pretty bad experience walking into raids. So I'm not predicting that or anything. We'll see what happens. I don't have any kind of feel for that, but we'll see what happens. It's just I'm kind of surprised that they've stuck with the no heroic week thing because it does put them on such a tight deadline. It's so much pressure for them. Where before they used to have a week where they would get legitimate raid data. Even the best players on Earth are playing heroic raid on heroic week, right?
Yeah.
And they're probably clearing it no matter how busted the tuning is. But then you can really see, like, okay, are there problems here? Are there things we know we need to address right out of the gate? And they don't give themselves that anymore.
Yeah, it's surprising. It's still surprising to me that they moved away from having a heroic week. I do enjoy having the downtime week, and I will continue to enjoy having the downtime week of, hey, here's your opportunity to explore the new factions we've introduced, explore the new area we've introduced, try out some of the new systems, get the story and really absorb the story and be able to listen to the story, because there's no pressure of you really should be running Mythic Plus right now, or you really should be doing, heroic content right now, or you really should, there isn't a pressure on that, which I like a lot during that week. I just also really enjoyed having heroic week where it was like, okay, we have the whole raid week to go all the way through normal and then work our way all the way through heroic. And usually you finish that up either right at the deadline for how much raid hours we have for the week or slightly before that. And it gives you time to prep and kind of see the bosses. And it's very weird having it all release at once because there's a lot of considerations you then have to make of like, okay, well, certain parts of normal are definitely worth doing to try and get tier set bonuses. Heroic is always worth doing because it's just such a large upgrade item level wise, but it'd be great to squeeze in 2 mythic bosses if we could, because that vault, right? You want to have the vault in there for people. So it's very weird to have that happening. And on top of all of that, you're like, and if you have any free time outside of that, please run Mythic Plus as much as you possibly can. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's a very weird experience to have all in one week. It's just a very busy week. And I do miss having that broken up a little bit more. That's just me, though. I know not everyone's in that boat. But, yeah. I do want to take a moment to give a shout out to Lance, who won our giveaway that we were doing. So, folks that were listening all the way through the episode and participating in that, we had a lot of entries. It was really nice. I'm so pleased so many people, A, listened towards the end of the show, but also took the time to write us an email talking about what their zone they were looking forward to or moment they're looking forward to most inside Mists of Pandaria. We really appreciated all the write-ins that happened there. Lots of people who never experienced Mists of Pandaria before and we're just really looking forward to seeing it for the first time. A lot of people who'd heard things about it and are looking forward to confirming the stories that were told to them, and then people, really looking forward to going back and experiencing some of that nostalgia again and getting into it. Lots of people who looking forward to the farm and looking forward to raid, and it's really been neat to sort of see all those come in. So thank you so much for all those write-ins. And yes, Lance was the lucky winner who took that home, and so we sent that code out as promised on the 20th last week to make sure that Lance got that before the actual launch of the Mists of Pandaria Classic, so that he could take advantage of the character boost and everything else that was happening in there. So congratulations, Lance.
Yeah, congrats, Lance. And thanks. Just to echo what you said, just thanks everybody who participated. It was, I think, my favorite giveaway we've ever done. Thanks to Blizzard for sending us the code to give away. Of course, this was not out of our pocket. This was not out of Patreon funds. This was a promo from Blizzard. So thank you to them for providing the code. And it was a really, it's an awesome package. So it was cool to be able to give it away because it does have a ton of great stuff in it, and it was great to hear from everybody about MOP one way or the other. Really cool. So hope everybody is enjoying MOP if you're checking it out. I do want to point out, I meant to mention this at the top when I was talking about playing MOP myself. If you're listening to this and the calendar has not yet flipped over to August 1st, you still have some time to get the promo mount from doing the starter experience for a new Pandaren character on MOP Classic. So to keep that in mind, it's a super cool mount. The Xiaohao serpent, it's like the celestial serpent, but it's got like the green mist color. Super cool looking. And all you got to do is play a new character of the Pandaren variety in MOP Classic for like a couple hours. Get through the questing, choose your faction, get to your home city capital, and there's like a little intro quest there, and then you'll have it over on War Within. So I don't know how much time you're going to have by the time this gets to your ears necessarily, but that is wrapping up in the next couple days.
Yeah, I mean, you have till that's Friday, so you have till Friday this week to get that done. So hopefully you're listening earlier in the week, and you can make sure you get in there to get that reward if you have not yet. But with that, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons. They contribute a ton to the show and help us to improve on the content we create. And I'm going to give a special shout out today to Arajian, Bradley, Bruce, Chris, James, Garrett, Kapawi, and Shorel. Thank you so much for all that you give, as well as all of our patrons who contribute and support the show. We appreciate you very much. And yeah, Patreon has done another UI revamp for me when I'm posting episodes, just causing little problems here and there. So hopefully, what I basically guaranteed last week is I don't think anyone's being charged for that episode from our patrons. So free episode, yay! This week I have to see whether or not the UI stuff is functioning properly again. But yeah, that'll be one of the things. We appreciate all the support though from all of our past and present patrons, and looking forward to lots more episodes coming out with season 3 coming around. If you're trying to find our Patreon, you can find it over at patreon.com/thestartingzone. And I want to give a special shout out today as well to Christopher, who jumped in and decided to support the show. That means a lot. Thank you so much. We appreciate all these people who are willing to donate towards that on a regular basis. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Absolutely. Welcome aboard, Christopher. Thanks for the support. Great to have you. And thank you to all patrons. Keep the lights on around here. Keep the show in production. And like I like to say, if you enjoyed this week's episode, thank a patron because they help make it happen. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Another great way to support the show is going to your iTunes, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify. Leave us those 5-star reviews. They help boost us up those charts and help more people find our show. So we always appreciate those as well. That's going to wrap up. I know it's a shorter episode because there's just not a lot going on that Blizzard's talking about this week, but that's going to wrap up episode 694 of The Starting Zone. Expect much longer episodes once Season 3 launches, and probably in the week before Season 3 when we get a lot more blog post stuff. But yeah, this is a short but sweet one this week. If you want to check out show notes for this episode or leave us a comment on the show, you can head on over to thestartingzone.com, the official website for the Starting Zone podcast. If you want to contact the show and leave us your feedback or ask a question, you can email us at thestartingzone@gmail.com or reach out to us on Twitter at The Starting Zone or on Blue Sky at thestartingzone.bsky.social or over on our Discord server, thestartingzone.com/Discord. You can hop in there to join our Discord server. And we'll say hi and chat, and it's always good to hear from new people. So let us know what's going on inside your WoW world. And Jason, where can folks find you on the internet?
You can find me on socials. You can find me on Twitter at Shieldwald and on Blue Sky at jlucas.bsky.social. Mostly post on Blue Sky, but I do check both, so come say hi if I can navigate the Twitter DMs, which are just a cesspool at this point. Video channels are over on twitch.tv/Shieldwald and youtube.com/Shieldwald. Been dormant for a while, but they might be spinning back up soon. I've been kind of missing being on stream, and it just didn't seem like it made any sense to do so with kind of, season 2 and 11.1 stuff winding down, but that's not going to be the case pretty soon. So keep an eye on those, and we'll probably hang out and stream some raid and some keys and some other stuff. So yeah, come say hi in any of those places.
If you're trying to find me, you can find me over on Blue Sky at spencerhd.bsky.social, on Twitter at Spencer_Downey, over on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpencerHD, and on YouTube at youtube.com/@SpencerHD. And with that, for Jason and myself, we want to say thanks for listening, and jobs done.